Oh, what? Who are you? What are you doing here? I don't know you.
Me? It's me, Dad. You don't recognize your own son?
My fault. My son wasn't this fat.
I'm not fat. I'm big boned.
Get away from me.
Anyway, get back. Anyway, get back here. I need my inheritance. We're taking him back to the nursing home.
Hello, and welcome back to the Troglodyte channel. Today, I've decided to take an extremely old person and put them into Minecraft to see if they can beat the game. This continues a recent theme on my channel of putting physically challenged people into Minecraft and seeing if they can win. So what kinds of challenges would an old person face in Minecraft? The first and most important mechanic in this playthrough is going to be the Dementia mechanic. When suffering from dementia, the player's vision will start to go dark, followed by a sudden change of scenery, and up to 7 items in the player's inventory will be changed and or deleted. This will happen randomly throughout the playthrough at an average interval of 9 minutes. And the player will have no knowledge of how they got there or how they obtained these new items, or how they lost their existing item. These dementia episodes will both last longer, move you farther away, and cause negative status effects the longer the run goes on, simulating an old person's condition getting even worse, as it often does in real life. The next mechanic that I need to explain is the chronic pain mechanic. We know old people don't move too quickly in real life, and that's because whenever they do, they take damage. So I've implemented that into the game. To avoid this damage, the player must constantly be eating the Vicodin pills that they are supplied. And these pills will give them the slowness status effect, but will prevent the chronic pain. So they have to constantly be popping pills just to stay alive, just like old people in real life. Now there are other mechanics that make it more difficult, such as increased fall damage, death to stairs, and heart attacks that make for a very difficult experience. But those are pretty self-explanatory and you'll see them throughout the run. So with that, let's get into it. Upon spawning into the game for the first time, I took a look at my old, decrepit body, took a few steps, and realized that this run was going to be a lot harder than the last few. But after eating my comically large Vicodin pill, I was good to go. My initial goal was to find a village and enact a sort of social security tax on them, you know, take from the young, give to the old, you know what I'm saying? But my first attempt at boating did not go over so well. Apparently rowing so fast was too taxing on this old body. Ooh, first dementia attack. Oh no, my world's going dark. Help! This first dementia episode was a positive one. It netted me some food, 40 buckets, and a pickaxe. And being old, of course, there were drug addicts on the street trying to get my pills away from me. And the big problem with having to take Vicodin every minute and a half is you'd often have to take it in the middle of a tense situation and it would slow you down. So remembering your pills is crucial to your survival as a geezer. Early on, a dementia episode placed me near a village, so I went in to collect some tax, and an old man meets his fate with his eternal nemesis, stairs. Early on, it was tough to make any sort of progress because a dementia episode would just sidetrack whatever I was doing, and being an old man, I'm too weak to fight, so I was pretty much doomed to just keep wandering around. Nighttime was extremely hostile to the elderly. I deal 50% less damage and take 100% more damage, so it was pretty tough to fight anything. It was an extremely brutal start. I was pretty much stuck in a cyclical hell of spawning on top of the dark forest, walking around for a bit, having a dementia attack, dying, and ending up back here. It was tough. I'm going to show some sped up footage here just to show what the average life of an old man in Minecraft in the dark forest is like, and I probably died in similar manner dozens of times just wandering around. Oh, and another thing that could happen, and was happening consistently, was you can have a dementia episode and lose your Vicodin. So you can spawn in with no Vicodin and chronic pain and you're pretty much just screwed at that point. You only get Vicodin from respawning or entering a new dimension, and later on I end up stockpiling it, so this becomes less of an issue. Oh, and the fall damage is absolutely brutal. That was 4 hearts from a 4-block fall. Oh, and a lot of things can give this old man a heart attack, including swimming. After a ton of time wandering around the world, probably like 12 real-world hours, I finally made it to a village without having a dementia attack or falling down the stairs. And of course, I had to collect some social security tax from these whippersnappers. And I knew it was a village full of young people because of the sheer number of stairs that they just installed everywhere, with none of those old people lifts. So anyway, I ransacked this village and then started to make my way towards a nether portal I could see. And, oh, dementia attack. Oh, in my episode of memory loss, it turns out that I forgot that yellow dye could not be worn as a hat. So now I was very far away from the village I was just at, so I was starting to make my way back towards it when I had another dementia attack. And this one actually reset my respawn point, so I had to keep looking for the village, and I eventually found a different one. And as soon as I got there, they had to pay their taxes, as is of course tradition. And then I did a little bit of remodeling to make the whole place a little more elderly friendly. For now, I had found my home, and I set my eyes on the Nether for the next thing to do. Get out of my bed, you unemployed piece of garbage. Man, this generation is so weak and entitled. Now this is the section of the game where I started having a massive amount of dementia episodes, and it was a huge setback. But this did end up netting me a decent amount of items that I would find during the dementia episodes, and to me it was no time lost. Yup, it's even possible for a dementia episode to land me in the ocean. This usually resulted in death, as my frail old body couldn't handle all the swimming. Yeah, some of the dementia episodes were very brutal, but I needed to hurry up because with each passing day, the dementia episodes get even worse, so I was going to want to make haste if I wanted to actually beat the game. Oh, and a couple different times I ended up in a village, but it wasn't even the same village I was at, so I would be looking around extremely confused, like an actual demented old man. The mechanics are working. The amount of time I spent trying to walk back to my base after a dementia episode was absurd. The time was really piling up. And even trying to mine was especially brutal because, again, I would start to black out and I knew the dementia episode was coming. How many times do I have to tell the unemployed millennial to stay out of my bed? This is a boomer-only house. Eventually, I was able to find a lava pool somewhat close to my base. And from that, I was able to make a nether portal with some buckets I found during a dementia episode. And with my entrance to the nether, I had made it one step closer to my ultimate goal of beating the game. I still had a long way and many dementia episodes to go, though. And it wasn't long of wandering around the nether before I had my first nether dementia episode. I unfortunately lost my Vicodin in this dementia episode, so I was pretty much screwed. Take a good look, old people. This is what's waiting for you when you die. No pills, no government benefits, just hell and inescapable suffering. I luckily did get some poo, so I could end it in a bit of a funnier way. What followed after that was a lot, and I mean a lot, of wandering around the nether in search of a nether fortress to get blaze rods, which are of course required to beat the game. During one of my dementia episodes, I found some string, and this reminded me of a strategy I used in an earlier playthrough to find a nether fortress, and that is riding one of the striders. And I didn't have a saddle, so I had to kick this butthole off of his strider. Oh yeah, now we're getting somewhere. I'll find a nether fortress in no time. Oh, apparently my old man heart couldn't handle the stress of riding a strider. So it was back to wandering around the Nether for me, which of course meant constantly being at the mercy of my dementia. Oh my lord, I don't even want to imagine the smell in that tunnel right now. You see that bloody poop stain on his nursing home gown, and you feel the heat of the Nether, you know it's stanky. Anyway, I wandered around the Nether for a long time without seeing any signs of a fortress. After a dementia attack, it was often quicker to kill myself to get reoriented. Just to demonstrate my suffering at this point, here's some sped up footage of one of many sessions that I had walking into the Nether looking for a fort. All of these ended inevitably with a dementia episode or in death. With how repetitive the Nether often is, each time I had a dementia episode in the Nether, it was very confusing once I woke up. I genuinely felt like a demented old man for a lot of my time in the Nether. And being unable to run due to heart attacks and unable to fight due to my decreased damage output, running into a hostile mob was often just a death sentence. And sometimes I would just end up in a position where I was completely and totally screwed with no hope of any way out, and I would just sit there in awe at what has happened to me. Man, it sucks being old. Back home, in case you were wondering, my 2 deadbeat sons are still here, so there's that. God, go get a job, Michael. Being a priest is not a job. Back in the Nether now, my dementia episode netted me an achievement and many experience levels. But it ultimately didn't matter because I was killed shortly after. Here, piggy, 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 you want some opioids? I'll give you some nice opioids. Oh my god, you are so disgusting. Let's just cover that up. Yeah, that's much better. Things did start to get worse though, as the next dementia episode I had, I woke up with nausea. And if being old wasn't already bad enough, having this status effect makes me basically helpless. I had to hide out in a little hidey hole until it was over. But on the plus side, after getting over my nausea, I looked over the ledge and there you have it, a Nether fortress. But it didn't much matter because I died shortly after. And the nausea became surprisingly common from this point on. So I was sat there a lot of the time just unable to do anything, so I would make the old man do a little dance in the inventory screen. If I'm dying, I'm going down swinging. After much struggle, and probably a dozen hours wandering around the Nether, I finally made it to the fortress. And I had a full path mined out all the way back to my portal, so I was looking good. And of course it didn't take long for this to be ruined by another dementia episode. And it was shortly after this point that I realized it was going to be nearly impossible to get the blaze rods and get them all the way back to my base. I needed a new plan. My new plan was to get 3 diamonds, which took forever with a lot of cave exploration and a lot of dementia episodes, by the way. Then use the diamond pickaxe to mine out 10 obsidian and take them with me to the fortress and build a portal and then a new base in the overworld through that portal so I would have quick access to delivering the blaze rods to my base. Oh, did you know these nether portals that spawn in the overworld have upside down stairs as the base? Look at how I die here. That was just a trick for old people. So here's the plan. I would take a chest and the obsidian with me, and if I started to have a dementia episode coming, I would quickly put the obsidian and diamond pick in the chest, thus preserving it for next time I get to it. So I gathered up the best gear I could muster and made my way back into the Nether. And I ended up having to throw down the chest and quickly put in the obsidian like 3 or 4 times. It took some quick execution. If dementia pulled me away from my objective, I was probably best off killing myself in most situations. Haha, get outplayed. There's about 5 seconds from when the darkness effect hits to when the Dementia episode starts, so it really wasn't that quick, but it just was really obnoxious having to find my way back. Whoa, I've become so old, I forgot my own respawn point and respawned in the Nether. This is bad. It didn't end up being too bad though, because after a few Dementia episodes and a few deaths, I was able to make it back to my stuff. Before long, I made it back to the Nether Fortress and built my Nether portal to set up my new base in the overworld. I am now realizing I do not have a flint and steel to light it, but luckily I found a bunch of birch leaves in one of my Dementia episodes, so I'm going for the light the Nether portal through proxies strategy. And it worked. I had the portal lit, and all that I needed to do now was grab the bed and go through to make my new base. Oh, forgot the bed. Oh. You're joking, right? And to make matters worse, I had a Dementia episode almost immediately upon dying. And it was time for yet another struggle to get back to where I was. Man, being old sucks. I made this video because I don't respect old people, but I think now I actually respect old people. But yeah, it took me probably 3 hours of actual game time spent trying to get back to where I was after such a tragic death. My respawn actually got reset again, as you can see here, and I was in big trouble. But fortunately, it was actually closer to the portal than the other spawn, so it wasn't long from then where I was able to get back and actually set up my new base. Okay, my new base is deep in a cave, and that sucks, but we'll worry about that later. This Dementia episode right here made me feel legitimately like I had some sort of memory loss. I teleported here, I saw this staircase that clearly I had built, but I do not remember it at all. Is this what it feels like to be old? Oh, and on top of that, I've got a rose bush on my head. We have really started Dementia maxing. Epic 90-year-old man pulling off a 5v1 in Minecraft. Get wrecked, piggies. Okay, finally getting back to the objective after being sidetracked by Dementia. I set up this chest right next to where the blazes spawn so that I can set up a little hole like this and cheese them. And there you have it. It's not the most glamorous of strategies, but it's effective and I can guaranteed get the blaze rod. And of course, there were Dementia episodes that would sidetrack this. But ultimately, I just needed to execute, and before long, I was able to get myself 12 blaze rods, which would be enough for 24 eyes of Ender. I figured I should get a few extra in case Dementia takes some of them. So now, to explain my strategy on getting Ender Pearls, the other piece of the puzzle. I was going to move my base to the surface, look around for a village, then move all of my stuff to said village, level up a cleric villager, trade for the Ender Pearls, ba-ding, ba-dang, ba-doom. It should be simple enough, I've done this many times. So I commandeered one of their houses, forced one of them to be a cleric, and then gathered materials and started leveling him up. Oh, and the Dementia episodes were getting worse. I was ending up much further away. More status conditions were popping up to make it worse to get back. It was brutal. This section took a long time, most of it being me just walking back to the base after an episode. But the main source of emeralds was Styx trading to the Fletcher villager, and I was just dismantling their houses to get the wood, so I was selling their dismantled houses back to them to get emeralds. Stonks. But yeah, there's really not much more to explain with this strategy than that. Just get emeralds, and then you're able to trade them for the Ender Pearls. Simple as. Before long, I was able to get 22 Ender Pearls, and then make 22 Eyes of Ender. That should give me a nice cushion for any potential Dementia attacks. So I put on my best gear and I started the quest to make it to the stronghold. And the Dementia gods were actually very friendly to me for this segment. Let me explain my plan if I had a Dementia episode during this trip. The plan was to throw down the bed, mark my respawn point, then throw down the chest and quickly put the Eyes of Ender in the chest. That way, if I did have a Dementia episode, I could kill myself to teleport back to the bed. It was a bit of a squeeze, but with good execution I could pull it off, and I did have to do it right here. And I was just in time. As long as the Dementia didn't catch me off guard trying to take a Vicodin or something, this was gonna work. The status effects were starting to stack up. Father Time was coming for me, I could feel it. I needed to make haste. I needed to get to the stronghold stat. Have you ever had an older loved one just give up on life and just kinda die? I'd have to imagine they were going through something like this. Who would want to live with all these negative status effects? I was getting close. The Eyes of Ender were starting to change direction, so I triangulated a spot to dig nearby. The Dementia demon kept knocking me back down, but I kept getting back up, I tell you what. As always, digging down was very tough, because I would get pulled away by yet another Dementia episode. The Dementia episodes were getting so devastating at this point. Like, look at this bleak situation here. It's dark, raining. I have 4 negative status effects, and I don't have any Vicodin. It was often just death. I did eventually find the stronghold, and this is editing Trog here. I just want you to know my suffering. This ended up being an over 50-hour playthrough, and I try to get these videos out within a month. This was so brutal, it was stupid. And the stronghold did pose a few issues of its own, namely stairs, and I had to struggle to move my base down here so that I could respawn and get back in the action against the dragon, but ultimately it wasn't too hard to find the portal and get in. I actually lost 12 Eyes of Ender on the way here, and I had just enough to activate the portal. That's some luck. Well, I've escaped the nursing home and made it all the way here. It's time to get in there and beat that dragon. Well, here we go. I survived Vietnam, I can survive this. And I did bring a bow with me to find the stronghold, but I lost it to Dementia, so I had to pretty much build up these pillars and manually destroy the crystals. It was tough, and like most old people, he didn't get along with the darker beings in the area, if you know what I mean. Man, this reminds me, I used to have a grandpa. He's dead now, thank God. But when he was alive, he would take us out to like a fast food restaurant, and I shit you not, he would call the cashier the N-word to their face. It was the most embarrassing thing in the world. It was terrible. It's probably one of the reasons I have this resentment towards old people and thus making this video. Anyway, back to the video. I was making good progress at deleting the ender crystals, and of course there were some Dementia attacks mixed in. But it really was pretty straightforward. I made it here, and that was the big thing. Haha, take that, darkies. My Dementia has gotten so bad I forgot that I'm supposed to spawn in the overworld. My spawn is set in the end now, and I pretty much have to throw hands with the Ender Dragon. Ugh, this is gonna take forever. The number of deaths I had in this section was absurd. This was an over 2-hour fight, and I know that because I'm video editing it right now. And you might be wondering, yes, running out of blocks was a huge issue, but the Dementia episodes I would inexplicably obtain some blocks. That mechanic doesn't make the most sense, but it is how it works. This must be what it's like when an old person is actually at the end. Ha! Get it? Haha! So eventually I was able to get the last end crystal and then start working on her health. Oh, My hat! Oh man, that damage is not good. We might be here for a while. Yes, yes, sick 'em, Ender boys. This part was so tedious. I often died on trying to approach her on her perch, and on the times that I did get some damage in, it really wasn't much. This was excruciatingly tedious. Oh, and I probably had more heart attacks in this section in just this fight than I had in like the Discord mod and Reddit mod video combined, so that old man's heart ain't too strong no mo. Man, look at that bloody shit stain. You better hurry up, old man. You ain't got much more time. Yeah, these Endermen are definitely age-phobic, because they aggroed on me in this fight probably more than any time I've ever fought the Ender Dragon. My Dementia person did find some wool at some point, which allowed me to try the bed strategy for like a little bit of damage, but ultimately punching was enough. I just needed to stick with it and hope my Dementia episodes didn't teleport me to the outer islands and set my spawn there. If that happened, I was screwed, but other than that, I was pretty much safe. And my Dementia episodes did net me a few helpful items at some point that slightly sped up the process, but his damage is halved anyway, so he's doing close to minimum with a stone sword and completely minimum with punching, so it didn't make that much of a difference. After a fight that took over 2 hours, I was finally able to prevail and prove once and for all you can beat Minecraft as an old person. So, what did y'all think of this video? I thought it was fun, but it was really RNG dependent. I think I did get quite lucky at certain points in the run, and if I had gotten less lucky, I probably wouldn't have made it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more nonsense like this. Bye!
There's little villagers come.
Damn it, little villager! Fuck you, villager. Get off my lawn, you little bastard.
That's funny.